FearScape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Hey everybody, Stefan here. This episode is sponsored by the great folks over at Box Mountain. Box Mountain is a subscription box service that has my favorite sub box yet, the Cryptid Crate. You see, Josh got one of these for his birthday, and I was super jealous because it was packed full of merchandise pertaining to cryptids. The box he received first was all about the Flatwoods Monster, which of course is one of our favorites, and it had a t-shirt, a book, a patch, mug, and some awesome stickers. So I checked out the price to get one for myself, and let me tell you, it is well worth the value. These make excellent gifts for yourself or even friends that are cryptid lovers as well. Now, if you use the coupon code FearScape, you will get 25% off the first month for any new subscription or 10% off individual purchases. So go ahead and head on over to fearscapepodcast.com/cryptidcrate now and get yourself one today.
You've heard us talk about all the amazing books we've been able to listen to on Audible. Everything from fiction to sci-fi to true crime and more. Audible is the leader in the audiobook industry with a library of over 200,000 audiobooks. Start listening now by going to fearscapepodcast.com/audible. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of FearScape Paranormal Podcast. Happy that you're able to join us as we continue to explore and try to understand the strange phenomenon that seems to exist all over the world. Stefan and I are on a journey, and we share that journey with you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another enlightening, frightening, heightening episode of FearScape Paranormal Podcast here on the FearScape Media Network. I am your host, Stefan Gearhart, joined as always by my other host, the man with no shame, the man with three names, Joshua Abraham Rutledge. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic.
Did you know that your initials make the word jar?
No, you know, I'm 40, almost 43 years old, and that never dawned on me.
Hey, that's what I'm here for, man. You know, that is what I'm here for. I can't tell you. So my wife and I have been talking about having a kid now for a little bit. We've been, you know, now that we've been married a few years. But one of the things whenever we talk about possible baby names, boy or girl, the first thing either of us does is we check them initials. There was one and it was Chug, and I was like, no, that's not gonna work. No, you can't be Chug, not with all the alcoholics I have in my family.
What's Sarah's middle name?
Elizabeth.
So Seg.
Yep. And I'm unless you use my Christian
your Catholic name.
My Catholic oh my god, my confirmation name. Boy, that's been a long time. Isaiah, then it's Smig.
Oh, you're the dragon guy from Lord of the Rings.
Yep. And if my middle name was Thomas instead of Michael, I'd be the Stig from what's that show? Car show. What the hell is the name of that show?
I don't know. I can only think of the one that's on Amazon that has the same three people in it.
Oh yeah, the new version because they all quit that one. But yeah, right. You know what I mean. It's it's one of the few reality shows I like. I'm not even a car guy, but I really enjoyed that.
Top Gear.
Not the American one. The American one's.
I don't know. I like the American one.
You would. You blue, red, and white-blooded bastard. You would.
Well, hey, you got to hear me out. My last name is Rutledge. There's a guy in it called Rutledge. His name is Rutledge.
This is true.
There's Tanner Faust, which is one of the freaking awesome best time like professional car drivers, and then what's his face from Paul Blart Mall Cop, whatever.
Yeah, that guy.
They called him the Wrecker in the show. So, but I mean,
that's what they called me in high school too.
It did get rather predictable,
Yeah.
Like, oh, this episode they're going to do a cross country challenge. Oh, this episode they're going to do a cross country challenge.
This episode.
Yeah.
No, I like. Yeah. Anyways, boy, that's way off topic. So we haven't even discussed what we're going to be talking about during this show. But this show, we've got a really great guest. Hopefully you guys already saw kind of the marketing for this already, but we have Mr. Olav Phillips, author, publisher, conspiracist. Is that better than conspiracy theorist? Because I think he creates conspiracies. That's what they do. No, I'm just joking. And he's, one of the reasons I'm excited to talk to him about it, man loves the secret space program just like we do, and talking about it. He's just... And he's he's one, like he is who we have to thank for Alan Greenfield's books. I was going to say, he is the publisher there of Alan Greenfield's books. And he also, he has a ton of files collected in his Anomalies Network archive that we're going to be talking about. I mean, this man is amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic discussion.
Yeah, so you'll definitely want to stick around for that. But let's go ahead and get to our segment so we can knock them puppies out straight in the face. Pa-pow, pa-pow, pa-pow. The first one that we've got for today, of course, is the psychic word of the week.
And now, the psychic word of the week.
Psychic word of the week, as usual, comes from this encyclopedic psychic dictionary from June G. Blitzer, PhD. Rest in peace, honey buns. As we usually do, we flip through the pages. But this time, before I flipped, Josh said, "Go to page 321." It was actually in the middle-ish of the alphabet instead of A or B as usual. 321. And the first thing that I see is intergalactic UFOs. So very pertinent to what is
for sure
today's discussion. Intergalactic UFOs. It says here, theory: an intelligence from another planet or from space can adjust his or her vibrational frequency to visit our system of stars at a distance. This would be recognized as a star.
Huh. So
my mind just got blown.
This harkens back to our Capella, our very first joint experience, if you will, with Capella.
Yeah,
because that's what that says, right? It could appear as a star. Capella we saw moving around.
Well, how many UAPs do we see that are not Starlink, that are not satellites, they're not planes, they're not helicopters?
Right.
They look like a star moving in the sky. Here we go. Now we have a name for it, intergalactic UFO. In the parentheses there, it says also see ether ship. If you'll recall, we've covered ether ship before on that. So
and it's really interesting too, because that's one of my early on in our kind of journey theories was, do these things somehow use like their minds to project themselves to travel, as opposed to, I think we talked about it in our what's it called on YouTube, the first program we did.
FearScape Unhinged.
We talked about the intergalactic psychic highway. Can you project your consciousness across space and time to be somewhere else? And that's why the laws of physics don't apply to you, because you're not physically there.
Well, it almost sounds like intergalactic UFOs is projecting the ship's consciousness, so to speak, almost, because it's an entire ship being projected, essentially.
Or it could just be yourself. I mean, UFO is unidentified flying object. It doesn't necessarily imply a ship. I mean, it could just be all those light beings that we see that we can't quite grasp.
Well, this, sir, is an iGufo. It's an intergalactic UFO.
UFO. Oh, I see.
iGufo. It also sounds like, I don't know, like, never mind. I don't even know what it sounds like. iGufo. I don't know. Well, I'm drunk on, what do I got here? Dr. Pepper Cherry Zero Sugar, not a sponsor. Anyways, yeah, so Intergalactic Ufo, again, from the Encyclopedic Psychic Dictionary, June G. Bletzer. What a pleasure. It's always interesting. And like I said, had no idea. And here we are, got a UFO guy coming on, getting to talk about that, and it fills in some blanks. I love this book. I love it. So anyways, let's get moving on, because I got somebody hairy, squirrely, and hoofy underneath my desk pushing me to get to their segment.
I'm not saying it's my segment. I'm just saying I just want y'all to get to it.
I'm getting to it.
Why is he under your desk?
Because he's hiding from my dog. He's nervous. He gets nervous around my dog. I'm like, my dog is nothing but squishing gums. Like, he's not...
Yeah, I call him
anything, but like, you know, Jersey Devil's part horse, and he heard that dog food is like made from horse. I told him that's a myth. Like, it's just whatever.
I'm just gonna stay. I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna stay. Just leave that damn dog out of my way.
Thank you. Shut up. Okay. So, anyways, cryptid of the week.
Hey y'all, it's the Jersey Devil. Hope y'all are ready to meet some of my friends.
Cryptid of the Week.
All right, so Cryptid of the Week, we are visiting and taking a look at one of the Jersey Devil's friends here. He is kicking me, and he's mouthing, because he's not allowed to talk, that this person, this one is not one of his friends, but he does know him from some circles. The cryptid that we have this week is called a Jiang Glot. And it may be pronounced Jiang Glot. I'm not 100%, but it is a type of ghoul or jinn in Indonesian culture and mythology. It's described as looking much like a tiny living human doll, which in and itself is already freaking creepy. It is so usually...
It's like a Robert the Doll situation here.
No, not even Robert the Doll, man. It feels like those little creepy what's that movie? Trilogy of Terror, or like Don't Go Downstairs, or whatever that movie is. There's these tiny little, or like Puppet Master, kind of like that's what I'm feeling here. These tiny living human dolls, because I feel like these are smaller than Robert the Doll. But anyways, it says it's usually depicted as a mythical creature, sometimes seen in cryptozoology, and occasionally purported to have actually been a human body. Its appearance also resembles the Medusa of Greek mythology. And the drawn picture, as well as this supposed Jiang Glot carcass, are both freaky, dude. You do not want to find this in your pantry. That's what I'm saying. But Jiang Glot is believed to be found in Indonesia. They are mostly found by natives after they have performed a supernatural ceremony. They are said to be found under the ground, or on a wrecked house roof, or even in the trunk of a huge tree. There are apparently in Indonesia Jiang Glot keepers who feed their creatures with blood, either animal blood or human blood, and those who feed the creature with human blood tend to buy it legally from the Indonesian Red Cross. The person has to then place the Jiang Glot near the blood, but the Jiang Glot doesn't even move or touch the blood. It is said that the Jiang Glot will get the nutrients of the blood in their own way. There's no definition of how. Some say that the Jiang Glot comes alive and then consumes the blood when it is alone. And last here, I just wanted to say that according to Indonesian legend, Jiang Glot was an ascetic who wanted to learn the Ilmu Bathara Karang, or the way to eternal life. It is also said he was a hermit whose worship of demons was to gain a certain power and ability. And they say that if a person with great supernatural power meditates in a certain cave, they will become a Jiang Glot. So very, very interesting. And apparently there are tons of people all over Indonesia that claim to have carcasses and have these exhibits to this day that were from private collections and all sorts of things like that. So this Jiang Glot is very creepy, dude. I'm gonna send you personally a picture.
It's like, if it drinks or somehow consumes the blood when it's by itself. I mean, I guess they set out a pail of blood, walk away, come back, it's gone.
Yeah.
The assumption is that the Jiang Glot consumed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it almost seems like no one ever sees it move. Like it is legit. It's like, you got a shrunken human? That's neat. No, man. I got a Jiang Glot. You don't want to know. This was not taxidermy from Hannibal Lecter. Okay, this is legit. He will get you when you aren't looking.
Like I don't even want to kind of poke fun at it because I don't want to have one show up in my bedroom tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I was saying. He's stoic. He just sits there. He sits there. You buy him shot after shot, and he won't drink it till you look the other way. And I got eyes like that pointing all sorts of different directions, and it's just
Well, it's like Kristen is terrified of dummies, like the what's it called when you stick your hand in his back, ventriloquist dummies. Like she hates them. So it's like, what's that character on Batman in the guy, like the bad guy is the dummy.
Oh yeah, the ventriloquist.
Yeah.
Scarface is the puppet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she can't even, like, I was watching the animated series one night and that came out. She's like, nuh-uh. So, nope. So, yeah.
Anyways, that's our cryptid of the week. Jiang Glot, Jenglot. Check it out. And let's get moving to our UAP sighting of the week. All right, man. UAP sighting of the week, unidentified aerial phenomenon, UFO sighting of the week. What do we got this week, Josh?
Yeah, so this was recently posted on MUFON, but it actually took place back in 1976. So if anybody listening happens to have more details on this, I'd love to hear more about it. In 1976, at Fort Hood, we saw a large orange fireball travel 10 foot above 4-story buildings being chased by jets on the base. The flaming orange ball was about 50 foot in diameter and seemed to be on fire, so we could not see what was on fire. It moved east to west over the base and seemed to be cruising along ahead of 2 F-105 jets trying to catch up. It made a whooshing sound after it went by. We got really scared and thought the Russians were dropping a bomb on us. But a telepathic voice told us, "Don't be afraid, we come in peace." I was then not afraid anymore and just watched it move over the base and out of sight. It was about 30 degrees in elevation and seemed to be playing with the jets chasing it. The 2 jets came so low we could see the pilots and hear the screaming of the jet engines. All the electricity went out at the base and did not go back on until 2 a.m. in the morning. Each power station on the base had gone out and had to be restarted. The next day, the newspaper said a meteor had come low over the base. They did not mention the jets or the power going out on the base. The F-105 was the same jet used in Vietnam and capable of Mach 2. This happened when I was 21 and I spent 30 years in service.
Wow.
That's awesome to see this thing and then have a voice in your head that says, "Don't be afraid, we come." I mean, man,
I don't know, that it gives it an extra level of creep factor.
Yeah. But also just the thing that just I have to continuously remind myself is that all the stuff that we're experiencing has been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, this is not new. The coverage is new, but the phenomena has been around for thousands of years.
Yep. Just had different names for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Gods. That's a good name.
Yeah, well, or all the angels.
Especially look at like the description of an angel in the Old Testament.
Right.
Tell me that ain't a UFO.
I mean, the whole idea of angels, having offspring with humans, the Nephilim and all that kind of stuff. That sounds very much like today's hybrids. It's just, I mean, yeah. So
I don't know. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Well, anyways, Josh, it's time to get to our interview with Mr. Phillips. So we're going to go ahead and move to that here right after we have a very quick, short ad break. So please stick around after the ad break, and you'll get to hang out with us and Olav Phillips. Be right back.
Hey everyone, Josh here. Do you feel like mainstream options for things such as yoga, meditation, or documentaries and films meant to expand your mind are lacking? Have you heard of Gaia? Gaia is the largest resource of consciousness expanding videos. Both Stefan and I have watched several of the series, documentaries, and films available on topics such as the secret space program, channeling interdimensional beings, and alien encounters. We're just now exploring the over 8,000 films, shows, and classes available to stream on your favorite devices. To get your 10-day free trial of Gaia, go to FearScapePodcast.com/Gaia offer. Again, that's FearScapePodcast.com/GAIA offer.
Good evening, dear friends. I am your headmister, Stefan Gearhart.
And I am your co-mister, the man with no name, Lance Wayne.
And we are the Misters of the Dark.
Join us as we discuss everything from horror books, films,
and even pretty princesses. Join us every other Tuesday in our dilapidated mansion. You never know what's going to happen next.
Only on the FearScape Media Network.
That's a good laugh. All right. Thank you guys so much for sticking around after the break. Like we said, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Olav Phillips.
Okay.
Howdy, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on FearScape tonight, man. We're very excited to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's my honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
So, I have to admit that I found you on Facebook because I was looking at Alan Greenfield's new book, the from 1900 or 1700s to 2000s magic thing, and I saw that the publisher, and I was researching into that, and I came across your name, and so thank you for helping bring the stuff that's in Al Greenfield's mind to the rest of us.
Are you sure you should be thanking him?
just so we're clear, that's Alan motherfucking Greenfield. He's very clear about that.
Motherfucking man. Ain't that a fact? We've had him on our show twice he's a
good guy.
Yeah.
We're from Kentucky, and that is about the best way we can describe him too. He's a hoot.
And actually, we
hands down.
We have a newer book that I just released for Alan called The Grail Within. So we have an even newer one.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
perfect.
He's just a book right in full, isn't he? So
I know
The Grail Within. Actually, it's interesting because he originally wrote that back in the 90s, and he made 93 copies of it, which obviously...
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he told us about that.
Yeah, he made 93 copies and hand distributed it. But we took a look at it, and I was like, Alan, we really got to get this one out there. I mean, it's a bit of a controversial subject, but there's no good book about it, so we really need to release it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, man, like, I want to get a hold of all of his old UFO zines. I've been able to, I think I've collected maybe 6 or 7 that I've been able to find online that people have digitized.
Yeah.
But good God, I would love to have UFO Sighter, I think is what it is, right?
Yeah. I found a bunch. I'm talking to him about doing that.
Yeah, because we brought that up to him, and he's like, "Oh, somebody's been researching me."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hell yeah. I love these old UFO
they're
zines
great.
from the '60s. They're fantastic." And so it got me collecting other ones as well. But yeah, I used to work at this old job. I'm not gonna say what it was, but I color printed all of them and then bound them and put them into a folder. So I've got all these zines. Like, I love it.
I'm going to try to publish them. He wrote a book back in the day called Saucers and Sorcerers. Yeah. So I have a copy of that. So I'm working on getting that done as well.
So cool. So freaking cool. Well, we're here for it.
Excellent.
So just kind of changing gears just a little bit, because as I started looking into, like, you know, basically what is Olav all about?
Right.
And something that piqued my interest, and it's something that Stefan and I have spent a lot of time talking about, and I wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit, is your thoughts on the secret space program.
Yes, so excited to see that. You have no idea how much we love the secret space program.
We have spent probably like 20 plus hours over the course of this program and our YouTube program, talking about the secret space program. So I'm sure you spent more than time than that, probably.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Oh, did I drop? Oh, okay.
Nope, we got you. So one of the things that we have theorized recently is that the Space Force that was recently announced, back a year and a half ago,
sure.
that you know, the public announcements, let's call it that, is just the public disinformation arm of the secret space program.
You know, my suspicion is, especially since they blatantly ripped off the Star Trek logo, my suspicion is that it's a normalization thing to get the idea, because the Space Force doesn't actually exist. I mean, it's not like it's a military branch. All they did is rebrand, you know, Space Command in the Air Force, which has existed for, you know, a long time. But yeah, you know, I think it was an attempt to kind of normalize it and to start to say, okay, well, we have a bunch of people that are soldier astronauts, but I don't think you're going to see anything major coming out of it anytime soon. They're just going to launch more surveillance satellites and X-37B. I mean,
one of the things that I saw for some of the UAP stuff that has been coming out, like the stuff that the Navy, you know, or the Pentagon officially claimed for the Navy stuff from 2004, is that those craft are actually our craft, and they've been operating for a long time, and that now that the Space Force is public, then this is an opportunity for, like, the report that's due out in something like 90 days now or something, that it's going to basically say, yep, some of these things are ours. Yep. We've been operating them, and they're actually belong to this new Space Force and everything. So,
I agree with you. And, you know, to kind of prove it, I go back to this interesting radio intercept that happened a few years ago. It was a MiG-29 pilot out on the eastern frontier of Russia, and the Air Defense Command had detected an inbound target that was traveling quite fast. And so they sent this poor guy up to go find it. And these Russian radio operators had picked it up and recorded it. And basically, well, long story short, is this guy is commanded to go after it. And so he goes after it, and the thing starts climbing and accelerating. So he starts climbing and accelerating. And he finally gets to a point where he tells his comrade colonel, which I thought was rather amusing. He tells the comrade, you know, this is a couple of years ago, right? I thought that was all over with. He tells the comrade colonel that he's at max power. I mean, he's at max thrust. He's got the engine's 100% fully engaged, and he can't catch this thing, and it's out climbing him. And one of the interesting things about it was not so much that, I mean, anything with an aerospike could bag a MiG-29. The more interesting thing is what this object did. The object did not like go straight up in the air or do anything weird. It actually headed toward NATO. That it actually changed course and headed back toward the border. And you have to ask yourself, and I'm a Occam's razor kind of guy. You have to ask yourself, if this is a UFO, which a lot of people theorized it was at the time, then why would it make for a NATO affiliate country? What's the point of that? If I'm an alien, I don't give a crap about NATO or the Warsaw Pact, or Russians or Americans or North Koreans or Cubans or Germans or anything else. I'm just going to do what I want to do. But this thing made straight for the frontier. So, same kind of thing, ball of light, high speed, fairly high altitude at the time. I think he was at his sea lane. And, it behaved a lot like, these objects that the Navy reported. And there's an article I just read about a cruiser, got a missile cruiser that was getting buzzed by UFOs or UAPs or lights in the sky, whatever you want to call them. Right. It was getting heavily buzzed. So they call up a couple of other cruisers that are in the general area. I think it was around Catalina somewhere. And they saw him too. And they pulled out, I guess they're called Snoopy teams, that they're supposed to identify these things. And they couldn't identify it. And actually, they got on the radio because they have something called AIS, which tells them what other ships are in the area. And they got on the horn to a Carnival cruise liner that was there as well. And the Carnival cruise liner's like, oh yeah, we're watching them buzz you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think, but it was very similar to what was described by the MiG-29 pilot. And, I think what you're seeing is with the Tic Tac and these quote unquote UAPs, what I think you're seeing is experimental aircraft or, covert aircraft that are being tested, and we're testing them against ourselves. Because, if you do it against the Russians, they're going to fire a rocket at it, a missile at it. If you do it against, an Aegis cruiser, they're not going to try to shoot it down, because the rules of engagement are different.
Right. Well, and that's where I think, somebody would make the argument our military wouldn't test these things against active military without telling them.
Oh, they absolutely would.
But they would.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, anybody who's in Southeast Asia, they march them through, Agent Orange fields. So I don't really buy that. The other thing that I think is interesting is that right now, you have Luis Elizondo. He's launching a website and he's going to talk about UAPs and he's going to expose the truth. And then at the same time, we have Radcliffe coming out saying, okay, well, we're going to release this report and it's going to have UAP stuff all over it. I think it's a confluence of events that you can't deny. Right.
Yeah. 100%.
It makes me very suspect of Elizondo. I think he seems like a really great guy. I think we could probably have a beer and have a really nice time. And he's a very pleasant dude, but I think the timing is a bit suspect.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot more in that along those lines as well.
Well, and
that's the whole To the Stars Academy is starting to look that way.
Well,
it's
from its.
It's something.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's something that we've talked about even when To the Stars first came out. When the second season of what's it called stuff Undisclosed, did I get it right? Unidentified.
Right.
Yeah, I was getting confused. But when the second season of that came out, and they were going to all of these foreign locations and speaking to these people, I'm thinking, there's no way that they're meeting with these top military officials in these foreign locations without some backing from the U.S. government.
Absolutely.
Right? So, I mean, it really brought into suspect for me was To the Stars Academy basically a civilian front for U.S. government disclosure.
Well, it's even simpler than that, right? That if you look at who he brought on board. It's filled with guys from SRI. It's full of guys that are tied to Bigelow, who's a straight up DOD contractor. Guys from Lockheed. I mean, it was a who's who of spooks, and I don't use that term lightly. I don't think when I walk down the street, as paranoid as I am, I don't think everybody's listening to me, or bugging my house or anything like that. But these people, they were all tied to SRI. SRI, Stanford Research Institute. They are spooky way back. I mean, they worked on Ultra. You know,
Yeah.
they were, I mean, they've done all kinds of crazy stuff, Project Stargate, and, you know, the whole remote viewing thing, Ingo Swann. You know, I mean, these guys are part and parcel DARPA, DOD consultant contractors. And Lockheed, I mean, do I really need to mention Lockheed, right?
Right.
Well, and just Christopher Mellon too.
Oh, sure.
that.
It's all of them. And I, you know, and it's kind of interesting. I think that they chose him very specifically, right? You know, and he has a kind of rock star mentality. I think they probably came to him and said, look, we're going to feed some information through you, probably massaged his ego a little bit, made it happen.
Oh yeah, I mean that's precisely why you don't see Tom DeLonge on the show as much as you thought you would,
Right.
because it in a way almost discredits it because he's a legit rock star, you know. But if you got these government guys, like it kind of plays into that legitimacy.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the spook factory over there. You know, they're I mean, they're all spooks. I mean, short of anything that you know, anything that Bigelow's going to do, you know, this is only one step less spooky than Bigelow. Bigelow's super spooky. I mean, that guy sold the entire MUFON database and its membership list. You know, he bought it off of MUFON and then turned around and handed it to DOD. That's like super spooky.
Wow.
Yeah, good old MUFON.
Yeah.
Glad I was a member.
Yeah, when did that happen? I was trying to think of my information has been exposed.
It was a couple years ago.
Okay, yeah. I'm only a recent member.
So there you go. And you know, I mean, MUFON, you know, it wants to do a good thing. I think it, you know, it really does. But the people that run it, it's just shocking. Some of the stuff that they've done over the last couple of years, it's just shocking. So.
Well, and I follow a group on Facebook that's, I guess, an unofficial MUFON global group. Like it's not a group put on by MUFON, but they call themselves, you know, MUFON Global.
Sure.
And somebody posted in there a few weeks back that they were actually closing the Delaware MUFON office because they were asked to do things that they didn't agree with. But then everybody was asking, like, well, what do they ask you to do? And they're like, well, we're not going to disclose that. That's between us and MUFON. Like, well, then why go on Facebook and say all that stuff?
No, you know, the best part. Yeah, well, the best part is that when MUFON sold the database to Bigelow, that they sold it for $1 million, and it was financing this thing they had called the Star Team, right? And I guess MUFON did not meet some part of the contract, so Bigelow dicked them on the other $500,000. That they didn't even get the whole $1 million. I mean, it's like, guys, if you're gonna sell me out, at least sell me out for the full cash, you know?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Interesting. And I had not heard that they sold the database.
Yeah,
so
I never heard that either.
Oh yeah.
Did they sell like all the sightings and everything too, or?
Yeah.
Like their sighting database?
Yeah. The one that's so super secret that you can't access it. And when you do, they won't tell you who the people are. And it really cripples your ability to do research. Yeah, sold it. They sold it to Bigelow. And he gave it to the DOD. The DOD paid for it.
Wow.
That's probably for
shit.
Probably for more than $500,000. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Well, and then and then of course Bigelow, you know, did all that stuff with Skinwalker Ranch, and then sold that for huge bank towards the end,
sure. and
all that.
And everything that Bigelow did was covered under an NDA. I had a conversation once with a well-known, now deceased ufologist, and he was trying to figure out how to get funding because he wanted to go after this crazy cave. I think it's in the Czech Republic that he had heard about, and he was looking for funding. I said, well, why don't you go talk to NIDS? You know, they have money coming out their butts. I mean, they can give you the money. And he was like, well, the problem with NIDS or anything with Bigelow is the minute you do anything, he slaps you with an NDA, so you can't say anything. And he takes all your research, which is insane.
Well, it makes me wonder. So, you know, we've talked about the whole, I don't know if you've watched that Skinwalker Ranch.
I love it.
Show that's on the History Channel.
I love
it. I mean, it's cool. So the one thing I'll say though is that it is typical History Channel television in that
Yeah.
And they build up to nothing. I mean,
yes.
the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest thing to come out of that show to date is the weird kind of magnetic anomaly stuff that they reveal in like the last 2 minutes of the last episode of the season.
Or even the UAP sighting. But most everything else was pretty, even though it was really interesting, just was continuously interesting, like as opposed to finding out anything. You're like, oh, okay, we're an inch closer to finding out something now. But 4 miles to go.
The one thing that I did think that was impressive came out of Skinwalker Ranch was the lights coming out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, well, I'll be damned. I wonder how much it costs to buy like an acre of land out there somewhere. It's actually pretty damn cheap. I kind of want to do it just so I can set up a camera.
Mm-hmm. I also was looking at, what's it like to buy just, an acre or even, half an acre out there just so I can set up like one of those sky hubs. I don't know if you've seen those or not, those sky hub systems, but just set one of those up out there.
Point it at it.
Just point it up and just let it film nonstop.
I do that. I have a camera because I'm on the 37th. I'm on the 37th parallel, right?
Oh, cool.
And so, I get weird stuff in the sky all the time. Even here, it's always shocking to me. But I bought a $99 solar powered camera and I just let it run.
Huh. I'll have to hit you up about what that looks like because I'm currently building my my technology empire. So like I just recently picked up a Psionics Aurora Pro.
Okay.
And I was out. That's like, I don't know if you've seen those or not, but it's basically military grade night vision for general consumption, and it's cheaper than any military grade night vision that you can buy.
Okay.
And it's color. It's color.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah, they're cheap. They're cheap. They're like $600 or something.
Well, that's the sport.
Oh, okay.
And I originally got a sport, and so there's a difference. There's the sport and the pro. The sport is low light. So you still need some like a moonlight or something like that in the sky in order to pick things up. The pro is no light. So we went out a few weeks back in Arizona. Went out with a MUFON guy that's local out there, and did like a CE5 event and tried to get some stuff.
I did one of those.
And there was no moon in the sky. In fact, where the moon would have been, it was like cloudy, overcast.
Okay.
And it picks up everything. It's a phenomenal camera. I'm trying to figure out how I can set that up to record, and record to the cloud or something.
Yeah.
To see if I can use that. But yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal camera. So like I said, I picked one of those up, and my only complaint, which I don't know that you could call it a complaint, is that it records in 720p. But I mean, for night vision, color night vision, I guess that's not bad. So it's a little grainy at times, only when you really zoom in or something. But yeah, I mean, it's a great camera.
Yeah, I have third generation goggles that I use that are military grade.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I mean, I looked at those, right, and those are like at least 2,500, and then it goes up from there.
Yeah.
So for what this is, and the fact that you can. There are guys, it will accept a Pitney rail adapter, so you can like put it on, a rifle or whatever if you wanted to. But it also has a mount on the bottom just for a standard tripod mount. So it's pretty versatile and it's not that expensive. And so it was.
Yeah, mine were 2,200. I got them from Hoffman Optics.
Yeah,
they're NATO standard issue. So. But I looked at the Aurora. They're pretty cool.
Well, and I mean, I couldn't convince my wife to let me swing 2,200, but I could.
I'm single.
I convince her on the other side.
I'm single. I don't have that problem. I'm like, I'd like some night vision goggles today. Do I have enough? Yes. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
So,
well, I mean, it's useful at times because there's this one place that I've wanted to go for years, and It's not secret space program or anything, but it's a CIA airfield out by Mercury, Nevada. And I wanted to go out there for years. And it's like, I'm like, oh, I think I'll just go.
Well, and it's, something that I read recently, or I think it might have been talked about a little bit in, there's a show on Discovery Plus. I want to say Brian Hansen, UFO Witness. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Ben Hansen.
I have not. I'm going to watch it.
Oh, it's excellent.
It's a fantastic show. But one of the early on episodes, and so I'll try not to give anything away too much, but they talk about this new location that is in Utah. I want to say Utah. That sounds right. It's a government facility it's supposedly used to store biological and chemical weapons.
Oh, by Dugway?
That's what it is.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Sure.
So what the show postulates is that's the new Area 51.
Oh, Popular Mechanics put out a thing about that about 10 years ago. Yeah, that they were moving all that stuff over to Dugway.
And so, because I'm thinking about it and I'm saying, well, as a deterrent, right, to keep people from poking around, the thought of a biological or chemical weapon might be greater deterrent than just, you might get shot. So
what I will say though is that I've got a spot up in the Sierras that I go to. It's about 250 miles northwest of Area 51. And there, there's the rest of the Sierras between me and Area 51, but I watch stuff climb out of there. So it's still very active.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think if there is all the underground bunk, there's just so much going on there. It'd be too difficult to separate and make a new one as opposed to an additional.
They also just opened an air corridor just south of here that goes straight out, and then you kind of bank left to go up to Area 51.
So, that's you make a good point, Stefan. It may be that it's just simply an extension, or there's certain other things that they're keeping at Dugway as opposed to everything at Area 51.
Yeah, well, they've got other things they've got to work with or do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Area 51 has the runway, right? And it has it has the secrecy of the mountain range around it. Dugway, if you're going to do experiments on a biological organism, you would do that at somewhere more like Dugway.
Yeah.
Area 51 itself, S4, Area 51, whatever your deal is, it's too remote. Like, it's too hard to get there.
Yeah.
So you can't just like truck stuff in easy. It's a real pain. It's, where Dugway's a lot easier. It's not too far from Ogden, I think.
I just need someone to come up with a new club idea that merges Area 51 and Studio 54, and you've got Area 54, and it's like aliens and skimpy clothes dancing, and Michael Jackson is just still Michael Jackson.
Well, there is a brothel north of Vegas that is a kind of Area 51 themed, alien themed brothel. So they're part of the way there. I read somewhere that it has a dance floor. So
Oh, there we go. Someone's already started working on it. God, but I love people. They're like, hey man, we're in Nevada. There's like alien stuff's real popular, and we got these prostitutes. Let's put them together.
Oh yeah, and I don't want to be too inappropriate, but they do have an anal program. So I snorted when I read that. I was like, "What? That's funny."
Not surprised. That's fantastic. Yeah. That's fantastic. I did want to bring up a little bit. I saw here, that you got a chance to work for a while with Ground Zero Radio and Clyde Lewis, who of course we love, and just that experience. So. Not asking about your experience. I'm sure you got to ask that a million times.
Sure.
But what about some cool shit did you get to come across? Like, because some cool shit came across your guys' way, especially you getting to research and do that stuff.
Sure.
What kind of cool stuff? And then side question, was there some stuff that was so cool you got told, no, you can't be putting that out there?
That happened to Clyde. actually. There's something like having to do with Dugway, oddly. Clyde,
Interesting.
Yeah, Clyde's originally from Utah, and every once in a while he'll tell this story. But basically, one day he got a phone call or an email or phone call from a guy who was a prospector who was out on the edge of Dugway. And the guy was like, I found a dead alien. I have photos. And Clyde's like, okay. And so he has the guy send him the photos. And it looks like a crumpled up dead alien under a bush. And he's like, oh, this is gold, you know? Mm-hmm. And so he's like, okay, well, he goes on this show and he's like, I got these photos of a dead alien. I'm going to put them up. You know, it's a radio show. And these two guys show up at the office at K-Bear, where he was at the time. And they said, no, you're not. You really shouldn't do that. Bad things happen to people who do things like that. And he said, whatever, freedom of speech, fuck off, whatever. And,
As he would.
And a couple of days later, he had a Geo Metro. And a couple of days later, he went out got in the car to drive to work. And he turned the key and nothing happened. And then suddenly the front end of his car explodes.
Oh, hell no.
Oh,
Yeah,
my goodness.
Caught the carport on fire, the whole thing. So the arson dude comes out and basically tells him somebody rigged your car with a like a popper kind of deal. And said you're lucky because whoever did this knew what they were doing. And if they used a full explosive, it would have blown the car up. And Clyde's obviously shook up, and he goes to work, and these two guys show up again. And they said, yeah, something really bad happened, huh? And he's like, yeah, it did. And they said, look, don't mess with this. And he said, okay. And he said, but I'll tell you what, if it makes you feel better, we'll tell you what happened. And he said, all right. And so they proceeded to tell him that basically the dead alien was actually an army soldier that was wearing some sort of next generation like adaptive camouflage suit. Mm-hmm. The guy had gotten separated from the unit and died of exposure, and so they were trying to cover up this camouflage suit that he was wearing.
Likely story.
Well, that's what they said. But no, I mean, we had a great one once. Somebody called into him, and one of the first things I ever did with him, and said that there was a UFO that was flying over Livermore, a little south of me, and that it exploded. And that the Tracy UFO, that had crashed in Tracy, California. And then there was a tire fire about the same time that started. And this guy, Silas Royster, who owned the the tire yard, was illegally storing the tires and not being EPA compliant, whatever. Well, he went out in a bulldozer trying to put it out, and they found him dead, slumped over his bulldozer. Meanwhile, Livermore, they sent out their super secret hazmat, fire crew out there to put it out. And they were bringing in all these like military hazmat guys to try to secure it and to put the fire out. And they were bringing things in on the trucks. They would bring in bulldozers, and then when they were coming out, they were bringing out things covered in tarps. And the theory, there's actually a laser that exists at Livermore that they don't mess with it anymore, but there is a laser at Livermore. The theory is that they fired the laser at this thing and blew it out of the sky because somebody saw a laser emanate out, and then there was an explosion. And then we got this, because this was a long time ago, we got this mysterious fax that kind of like laid out the whole thing and said that the two F-18s were sent out from Alameda Naval Air Station, and they were carrying what's called a KKV, a kinetic kill vehicle. It's an anti-satellite missile. And, on the surface of it, it's like, well, they didn't really have a lot of F-18s at Alameda. It was mostly anti-submarine warfare. So there's a lot of P-3s and things like that. The F-18s are further out in Lemoore. And it was like, well, they don't put anti-satellite missiles on Navy planes generally. But it turns out that there is a KKV, an anti-sat missile, that can be mounted on an F-18. And at the time, there were a number of F-18s at Alameda. So it kind of started to come together. And, it talked about that it had set off the defense network when it came in, and they tracked it optically using some sort of an experimental camera, and then they targeted it using that experimental camera, and then they blew it out of the sky. But yeah, no, there's a lot of, I mean, Greenfield was on there once. He opened a portal. I got him to come on the show, and he opened a portal over the station and blew the transmitter offline. I mean, it's all kinds of...
I've seen I saw article or something about that. Yeah. I recall that. Yeah.
He blew the transmitter overloaded. The transmitter overloaded, and then the transmitter went offline. I digress.
I always expect crazy shit to happen when Greenfield's present, especially if you're going to have the man open a portal.
Well, yeah. I mean, Clyde's like, well, get him to do something. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, Alan, can you open a portal? He's like, yeah, I'll do some Enochian magic, and boom.
I mean, that's some like Montauk project shit right there, man. Like opening up some portals, like and blowing some equipment out. That's straight out of Montauk, man.
You know, once COVID, I was talking to him about it. So we obviously talk quite often, and you know, he's kind of like my mentor in that kind of thing. And I was saying, you know, once this COVID thing kind of gets past us, you know, I want to take him out to Shasta, and so we're gonna go out to Shasta. And I said, Alan, I just want to make the mountain talk. So do whatever you got to do to like make the mountain talk. So he's all, okay, I got this. I'm like, all right, okay.
Well, he cracks me up because I do improv comedy, you know, and our big thing is yes and I was like, if there's anyone that embodies yes and, it's Alan Greenfield. Like I feel like he never says no. It's always like,
oh, he does, but he does.
Yeah, I can do that.
If you come to him with something crazy enough, he'll hear you out.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, that's what we were talking about. We started last year trying to do some sort of an annual trip to supernatural type thing, and It's like last year we went to Point Pleasant and did some stuff in the TNT domes and all that kind of stuff, and then this year we're actually probably going to go to Somerset, Kentucky, because there's a lot of weird stuff there with
where to begin.
Yeah. So, and then, so we were talking about maybe the year after that, and I guess it would be 2022, which would be, 2226. But anyways, is, go down to Atlanta and say, hey, Alan, let's go out in the woods and do some crazy ritual stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I want to do? He's in. You know what I want to do? I actually want to go out to the Mojave and attempt to close that portal from the Babylon working. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Because Parsons never closed it.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I don't know if you have seen or heard anything about the show. It's on Amazon. I think it's on YouTube too. But it's called Hellier, and
I know all about it.
It starts. Okay, so
I'll tell you.
So one of the
story. I'll tell you a story. I once told Alan, I said, Alan, you got to teach me everything. And he said, you learn by balloon. Because I do. All the balloons that they've seen, I've seen them myself.
Yeah.
I get balloons all the time.
Oh, yeah, we do too. As soon as, it's...
Once you watch it...
nuts.
Well, it's because the show itself, I think the show itself is a working
ritual. Yeah, we just had Tyler Strand on a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about that, like... how he's hiking, he's climbing this mountain, he's rock climbing somewhere he ain't supposed to be. He said he even got fined for it. But as he's like reaching to the top cliff, he just feels a tickle on the back of his neck. He looks up and there's a damn blue star, Mylar blue, in a tree, stuck there right up above his head. And he's like, these things, I can't stop seeing.
I was driving near a place called Alturas. There weren't people for almost 100 miles in any direction. And I'm driving along this highway, and it's just a pine forest, and there was a blue star balloon and a sports balloon hanging in a tree.
So the question is, do you pull off? Do you pull off right there and inspect the area and see what it's trying to get your attention for?
Of course, but there was nothing
that's
there.
what Tyler said too, man. And Tyler said he does that, and he's been finding like this correlation to like Sasquatch tree structures, kind of near similar areas. Even the original balloon that was found, he said that they didn't talk about it a lot, but there was a Sasquatch tree structure and some stories around that area, and he personally is digging into that theory of a connection.
Well, it's the ultra terrestrial thing, but in my case, it's like a harbinger. Like one day I was on a conference call, and I'm just on a conference call. We've all done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there,
Yeah.
and it wasn't really anything that I needed to be directly involved in. So I'm just listening. And my mind started to wander, and I was thinking about the secret cipher of the UFOnauts. And I thought, well, I wonder if there's another cipher. And so, I'll leave the details out. But I basically found another more impressive cipher and how to crack it and how to make it work. And I figured this all out while I'm on this conference call. And so I get off the conference call and I'm like, okay, I got to go down the street to the Quick Stop and get a Coke, right? So I'm like, I get in the car, I drive down the street, I go in the Quick Stop because I'm a normal human being, and I get a Coke, and I walk out, and I'm pulling out of the parking lot, and there's a goddamn Happy Graduation 2020 balloon like sitting in the street. And so of course I call Greenfield, there's a Happy Graduation balloon. And he's like, well, congratulations, you graduated. I'm like, okay.
Yes.
All right, I guess I did. It's like the cipher, you figured the cipher, this crazy, insane cipher out. You cracked it. He's like, you graduated, man. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's what I have spent many hours going down the cipher rabbit hole. I've gone as far as creating my own cipher based on different numbers and things, trying to figure out if there's answers places. But yeah, I have, the numbers thing is a huge draw for me. I've gotten really big, like deep into numerology and all that kind of stuff. So there's just something with numbers that really draws my attention.
Well,
but what I was when I brought up Hellier before, what I was gonna say is there's the spot where he's talking that terrorist interview in I can't remember if it's the first one or the second one, but they're talking about the cave base that's in the Georgia area,
right?
For where they shot or filmed, the Deliverance, right? And I'm like, hey, Alan, let's go out to that spot and do some ritual stuff and see what we can unlock.
Yeah, that's equivalent to me going, hey, Alan, let's go to Shasta and make the mountain open up. No,
I'm like, hey, Alan, let's go to this Area 51 themed brothel, man. What do you You guys can have your ritual. Me and Alan are going.
We're going to the brothel.
We're going to the probe room.
Well, apparently, I was so awestruck by the fact that there was an Area 51 brothel. I read this article that was in like the Las Vegas Sun, and they were saying that apparently the people even dress up as like Star Wars characters, like Princess Leia or whatever. I was just shocked. I was like, okay, whatever.
And I'm in.
I think you're going to Area 51 on your next trip.
Josh, can this be one without the wives?
No, it's probably called the Anal 51 brothel. So.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, I was just shocked. No, but the truth. The truth is that there are these places that are very powerful, and if you go out there and you perform a ritual or you do energy work or whatever, things do happen. So from his point of view, I think the one thing I've always known about Alan is that he really wants to see the stuff in action. He published the complete cipher of the UFOnauts so that people would use it. I think sometimes he's a bit disappointed that more people haven't attempted to use it.
Well, actually,
which is surprising because so many are now. Like that,
they are now. Really
well,
it's a Hellier.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I even found I don't know who did it, but somebody made an app that's available on
the iPhone.
Both. Well, it's on Android too.
Yeah,
it's the NE query or whatever it's. Can't remember. Yeah, NAE query. Yeah.
We have a secret. We have a secret cipher one too on iPhone. But
okay.
But yeah, the NAC cipher, the new Aeon new Aeon English Kabbalah. Yeah. The NAC cipher. Yeah. Cipher 6.
But yeah, so I've been. Last time we talked to Alan, I said it'd be really great if somebody could load all of the words from like an Oxford dictionary and bump the cipher against that so that we could actually.
You can. If you go to thesecretcipher.com, I did personally that. There are you can do it against what is it? The English dictionary. You can do it against what's the Principle of Discordia, the Bible. I mean, there are a bunch of options.
Yeah.
Well, I saw underneath when you go to the advanced one, the advanced .secret cipher or whatever, I did see that you can choose other books. But I didn't see the one for like a dictionary or a thesaurus.
I thought I put the thesaurus and the dictionary in there. I'll add it. It's fine.
Okay.
I can add it.
There you go, Josh. Your wish. Your wish is his command.
So yeah, because there are a lot of times when I just want to get a numerical value of a phrase or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then go and try to figure out what other words or phrases use that numerical value to see if there's some sort of a relation. Because I've had all kinds of weird happenings with like Zoom meetings for work and stuff where like it doesn't recognize my button presses and it reads me back some random set of digits that aren't even what I typed in. And so I'm like, is this a message? So yeah.
I went to a party once, and I got a little drunk at the party, and I go back to the hotel and I go to sleep. And at 3:33 in the morning, I got a phone call from a guy named Dave Scott. He's got a radio show up in Canada. I called Spaced Out Radio, and he calls me up, and I ignore it. The third time he called me up, I answered, and I'm like, hello, what do you want? He's like, why did you call me? And I'm like, I didn't call you. He's like, you called me 3 times. Why did you call me at 3 a.m? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And so we went down this whole rabbit hole, and all 93 is all over this thing. And it kind of ended up that I got Greenfield on the phone with me and Dave and this woman that was his remote viewer. And basically we had a chit chat with somebody from the Secret Chiefs of the Third Order. And Alan was able to identify who this guy was. And
wow,
it was crazy. Yeah. And then Dave, he had a Valis type experience where Philip K. Dick reported that he was bathed in the pink light, and he felt like things were downloading into his head. Well, Dave was bathed in the purple light, and he started seeing these crazy geometric shapes, and he had a total Valis experience. So yeah.
So we had that in, well, I don't know if Stefan, if you had it, but I had that in Point Pleasant.
Oh, okay.
We were out on this point where the two rivers kind of come together in Point Pleasant. We were doing some Estes stuff, and we're trying to talk to people and things, and Stefan channeled. It was crazy, but I
want to go with you guys. Sounds fun.
Oh, our friend Santosh comes along too. He's a yogic guru.
Okay.
Like he's insane.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah,
the crew, man.
Next time we throw a trip together, we'll have to hit you up.
Yeah, hit me up.
You're single, so you can go.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But yeah, so we're out there, we're doing this Estes stuff, and we're in between, like we're getting set up for the next person to take their turn doing an Estes.
Right.
And this like kind of fireball streaks across the sky, going like west to east.
Okay.
And then maybe 90 seconds later, this pulsating light comes from the same direction but coming east to west.
Interesting.
And it's like kind of like pulsating. Like we actually saw one out by my house that was doing the same thing, but almost like a lighthouse in the sky, if you will, because like it would come around, it would get really bright, and then it would go dim, and then it would get really bright, and then it would go dim.
Oh, I've seen stuff like that before.
So we kind of we always make sure we like kind of hit around it with a green laser pointer, and it starts moving to avoid the green laser pointer. Like it
was to me, it felt like it was playing with it like a cat. Come on. Oh, dude, man! Almost every time we go out, shit happen.
Usually when I go out to weird places to see weird stuff, which I do a lot. I do a lot of like weird road tripping. Mm-hmm. When I usually go by myself. So like I'm sitting there, I'm all damn, watch that thing climb at Area 51. And it's just me, you know, me and my night vision goggles and my like super powerful radio scanner on the top of a mountain. Whoa, look at that.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty part of this show is we've met so many good people like around the country. So it's like now if we go out somewhere, we usually know someone within about 100 miles that we can be like, come on out.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you want to go to Shasta, let me know.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I want to go to the Mojave with you. And
I really want to do it. I mean,
I live in Phoenix, so I'm not far. So
I really want to. The only thing that I'm worried about is that, you know, I always question the amount of power ability that I have. So, you know, to do something like that, I'm always thinking to myself, well, can I do it? You know, can I pull it off? That's really the only thing that's holding me back from going out there.
Yeah, you need somebody cocky like me who's like, yeah, man, let's do this shit.
Well,
why not?
And also, I think it adds to. So number one, it adds to the energy of the space. More than one person with you,
of course.
And number two, whatever you see, there's that shared experience potentially that gives more credibility to whatever is seen, right? So, I mean, because we saw a crazy UFO in my backyard,
man, right at the start of our journey too, man.
Yeah, and if it would have just been me,
right,
I probably would have questioned what I saw, but because Stefan was there and we both saw it at the same time, and we both communicated our own experience and our own experience matched up, it you know made it more credible for me. So.
No, I mean I think we should get a bunch of people and go out there to the Mojave and try to do it.
That you know, and that's the thing that I do like about the Stephen Greer CE5 stuff is that it's always a big giant group of people, you know, experiencing things. You know, because I mean, good God, can we stop saying you know, group hysteria every single damn time?
I did a CE5 on the side of Shasta, and it worked.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we
awesome.
We had some sort of a ball of light that flew over our heads and changed course right over our heads.
Yeah, see, with us, he came out literally the one weekend that it was cold and rainy and cloudy and snowy. That never happens here. Like, that's the weekend he comes out. And I was like, well, let's still go anyways. And so...
but we had something. I mean, we did the CE5.
Something. Just not as cool as what you just said.
Not as cool what you just said. But we got what we got on that Aurora. So I'm working on finishing that up so I can throw it up on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It was like a distant ball of light that was almost on the horizon from where we were, you know, kind of 0 or 5 degrees off the horizon.
Okay.
And it was like undulating.
Yeah, this thing was pulsing, flew right over our heads. Couldn't have been more than a couple
and it's
thousand
crazy because we checked Google Maps and Shane, our friend from MUFON there, this was like few blocks from his house, so he's like, there's nothing in that direction but desert. And we checked it, it's like the closest anything was like 2 miles. Like,
I checked satellites, I checked flight radar,
and this was low on the horizon. So you know, and we're seeing, you know, 2 IR lights that stayed there the whole night, so we knew those were there, and just different stuff. And it was pretty crazy. And I say this every time I talk about it, it looked like it was moving towards us without growing in size. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, the other thing, there's a bunch of BLM land out there by Skinwalker Ranch. I want to go out there and sit on the BLM land because, you know, anybody can go there.
Yeah, our buddy Keith Age, he's this used to be on Sci-Fi and stuff. He's old. They call him the Rock and Roll Ghost Hunter. But we had him on talking about Skinwalker, and he's got some interesting stories just sitting on that land out there as well.
I mean, I mean, for me, there's not a better weekend than to go out there to Utah and just sit there with my night vision goggles all night watching for stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a dream night.
Sign me up.
I love that shit, man.
That's also why I'm still single.
That's funny. We actually got, when he came out here, when we went to Sedona, we actually got my wife out there with us, and it was so cold. It was snowing up there, but it cleared up, and so we sat out in a Jeep way out in the mountains and just opened the top. But she actually had a good time, and I was like, this is
it's fun.
Up.
It's fun. You know, I tell people, they always ask me, because I chase this stuff. They always ask me, what's it like? And I'm like, it's very hard to explain, like, what it's like to watch 14 lights over your head, like dogfight, and make like geometric shapes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to like articulate the experience of that. There's this movie that Amazon made called Vast of Night. And I always tell people,
oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Just watch that. That's what it's like. The chaos.
Yeah.
And that's it right there.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect with that movie, going into it, just knowing it's fiction, but it's like, that was interesting.
That's weekends. That's like weekends for me, minus like the whole abduction thing. That's weekends for me.
Nice.
Have you watched there's a documentary on on Amazon called Lights in the Sky?
Oh, here he goes.
I know.
I love that documentary.
So it's about,
good though.
It's from a woman named Krista Alexander, and I think on Amazon it's got like maybe 2.5 out of 5 stars, but it's in my opinion it's severely underrated.
Okay.
But basically she takes all this like video footage that people send her of these light phenomena in the sky, and she runs it through video editing software and like plays with the lighting and all of that kind of stuff, and really shows some really interesting things like light inside of light, like pink light inside of light, and there's like parts where they're just kind of like popping in and out, and when they pop in and out, they're making these weird kind of pixelated shapes, like one is a pixelated butterfly, one's a pixelated spider, one's so it's like these light balls are popping in and out, and when they're doing so, they're passing these images that are being picked up by this video software. It's a really cool doc. I highly recommend you watch it.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
That reminds me, there's another doc that's about this woman that has been videoing UFOs for years. Like, she started doing it with
where that you can do that. You can get them like every night.
Yeah, she's been filming on film like since like forever and ever and ever, and it's insane. Wow. And she's learned how to call them, and they come, and like there's a whole documentary. I'll have to look and see what that one's called, but that one's interesting too. It's just this one lady. She's this old like Asian lady now. She actually might have died now. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's crazy, man.
Well, it's like Andrew. It's like when Andrea Perrin was on. She was talking about she goes out and sings show tunes, and they show up. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I guess it probably doesn't matter what you're seeing.
Here it is. Capturing the Light. That's the name of this documentary. It's called Capturing the Light. Okay. It's about Dorothy Azat, and yeah.
The thing that I think it comes back to, is Greenfield's ultra-terrestrial hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
UFOs and ghosts, Bigfoot, they're all tied together.
Yeah,
and in magic, it's about intent. It's about intent and will. And I think that if you go to these places with the intent and will, you can get this stuff to manifest. Because I've done it, right? And I think that is, to make a magical working work, it's not like you have to go out there with 6 different swords and 3 different cloaks and a cauldron. It's more about intent and will. And if your intent is focused enough and you have enough will, you can do it. Anybody can.
Well, it's like so our good friend Santosh, he would say that it's all that other stuff is just props, whatever you need to make that more make that more intense for you, the participant. Right. So, if you need cloaks and swords in order to feel like you're doing something and that heightens your intent, right, then do that. But at the end of the day, you're right. It's just the intent and will to go out there and do something.
But that's, that's more of like the chaos magic argument. You don't need an altar, and you don't need a wand and a cauldron or anything else. That, you manifest these things, whether they're UFOs or Bigfoot or whatever, you manifest them through will and intent. So for me personally, that's what I've focused on, and I've become quite proficient at it, but it's about will and intent.
Yep. And just like we were talking about earlier, it doesn't matter if you've got 16 people with you, and everyone's saying that. Everyone will always be skeptical unless they see it themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the way it's just going to be. It doesn't matter what videos we put out there. It doesn't matter what pictures you show or stories. People are always going to be like, well, you could 47 of you people saw this?
No, you could walk Marvin the Martian down the street and they wouldn't buy into these Martians.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's the way it is.
That's true. That's one that, all of your experiences are really for you, right? Anybody else that watches them, that helps them, that's fine. But anything that you share, all of your experiences is for you and your what you need to see in order to further your individual journey. And then for those of us that are, write books or do podcasts or whatever the case would be, we're out there to share our experiences to help other people know that they're not alone.
Yes.
But, I'm not out to convert anybody.
No. And it's funny that you mentioned that. When I go on a show, right, which I've done a few of, when I go on a show, my intention is to share my experiences so that it will prompt other people, even if it's just one person, to send me an email and say, hey, I saw this thing. What do you think? Or to get in the car on a Saturday night, and instead of going to Area 54, they go up to the top of a mountain and say, I want to see goddamn UFO. I mean, that's all I want out of it.
Well, and we get that too. We get stories from people all the time. Usually at the end of every single show, we do stories someone sent in. But it's funny, people have been listening to the show for 2 years will still preface a lot of these things with, please don't think I'm crazy.
Oh, I do it myself. When I describe it, I'm like, please don't think I'm crazy. But
it's so funny that we do that.
Apparently, I manifested a white coyote walking through the park near my house. Apparently, I manifested it. But you see, I'm saying, don't think I'm crazy, apparently.
Right.
Apparently.
Right. I told Greenfield that, and he's like, dude, you manifested it. Slap yourself in the head. You made it happen. I'm like, okay.
Exactly. Okay. And we point that all the time. We're like, people, we are here to believe you. Like, that's the point. And if not, we're going to look into it and try to find some, reasoning for ourselves. Because I definitely don't think you didn't see that.
Or you're going to try to duplicate it. You want to try to duplicate it so that you can see it too. I mean, I've seen UFOs, I've seen Bigfoot, I've seen ghosts, I've seen magical things happen.
Yep.
I've done magic. It's like I've seen all these things, but it never gets old. Like every time you see it's like the clock starts over. Every time.
And in fact, every time I see it or experience it, I want more. It's like almost addictive, if you will.
It is addictive. It's like an adrenaline junkie, but it's like a 14 junkie.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Give me my arm shot of 40 goodness.
And it's like I tell people, I'm like, when you're a 14, that it's not like a hobby. It's not like I'm going in the garage and working on my classic car. When you're a 14, it's everything of who you are.
Yeah, it's nonstop all day, every day. I see synchronicities in everything at work. Yeah. And then being into paranormal, I can feel spirits where I'm at. I mean, it's nonstop.
It's nonstop. 100%. I'm sitting in my backyard on a conference call, and there's this cloud over my head, and I'm like, well, I'll be damned, that looks like a phoenix. And then, like a normal cloud which dissipates, this thing didn't dissipate. The wings kept expanding, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess somebody's going to be reborn, And then a couple of days later, I had a friend who went.
Or you're gonna be on a show with a host from Phoenix, like.
There you go. Well, I had a friend who had a traumatic experience that caused a kind of inner rebirth. So I didn't know who it was tied to, whether it was me or whether it was a friend. Well, in this case, my friend had a reawakening because of a traumatic experience in their life.
Wow.
So, a lot of these things, these synchronicities, they're harbingers. And I always tell people that, the signs are there. You just have to be brave enough to look.
Yep.
Amen.
Well, and that's like I was talking to my wife the other day about signs like that. And, she is very much the skeptic.
Sure.
And she looks at, so for her, for it to be a sign, she has to be watching TV. The TV has to glitch, right? Has to like freeze in motion, and then other text that shouldn't be there has to come onto the screen to tell her some information.
But that's
And it has to say her name, right? It's got to say
right. It has to like Kristen, you must, and then whatever has to follow. Like to her, that's a sign. But the thing I'm trying to tell her, and she's starting to come around, is that signs are probably more subtle than that. It's did you get a magazine that on the cover of all things that could be on the cover,
right.
was it something that's significant to you or something in your life? And that
you go to a hotel and you stay in room 333.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and so that reminds me of the place we stayed in Sedona. It was a 4-digit number, but if you added them all up and then reduced it to its lowest value, it was 3.
Exactly.
Like, yep.
Exactly.
So,
and they don't make it easy, and they don't make it easy on purpose. You know. But yeah, I mean,
and they
all
may not
there.
speak
It's
in
just-
our language. They have to speak in a
Well, they
different
don't.
way.
When I've done the Gansfeld, when I first started doing the Gansfeld, now I can do it without the mask or the white noise. But when I started doing the Gansfeld, the messages that I got back, obviously I'm approaching it a little differently than they did on Sahellier. But the messages I got back were arcane, and I really couldn't make heads or tails of it. And then Greenfield pointed out to me, he's like, well, they don't really understand language as you understand it. So what you have to do is that when you put out that intention of what you want out of it, whether it is you want guidance or you want confirmation or whatever you're looking for, you have to say in terms I can understand. So when you ask the universe or the secret chiefs of the third order or whoever, you say, hey, give me a sign. You have to say, hey, give me a sign in terms I understand, because then they translate it. It makes it a hell of a lot easier.
I like that.
I never even thought about adding the context in terms I can understand.
Right.
I just assumed they would understand.
No, because actually one of the things about dealing with the secret chiefs of the third order is that they're beyond, they're enlightened beings, enlightened masters, right? Yeah. So, I've interfaced with them directly, but normally when you interface with them directly, it's such an insane experience that most people can't handle it. So they have go-betweens. That would be potentially, for argument's sake, that could be a Terry Wrist, right? Right. The agent provocateur, which is the go-between. And, in the case of what happened to Dave Scott up in Canada, he had a go-between. There was a go-between between the secret chiefs of the order and him.
Yeah.
And
you're right. It should be okay to say. I mean, it says the same thing. If Josh, you're telling me something I don't understand, I'll say, all right, in layman's terms.
Exactly.
Right?
And you could say,
why can we not do that to them?
Yeah. And you could say, because what's going to happen is the message is still the same, but it gets filtrated through another layer below the secret chiefs that they converted. I asked once, am I going to be okay? And I saw these headlines, newspapers, TV shows, appearing in front of me. And everything was like, we beat it, everything's okay. But it's like, okay, I get it. But I said in terms that I can understand. So I saw, newspaper headlines and video loops and, but they all said things that I could interpolate.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's a really great.
It works. I've taken people through the Gansfeld a number of times. I think the largest group I ever did was 12 people simultaneously.
Man, that's definitely something I want to try. I've not yet been able to, so I'm down for when we all get together at Shasta.
Yeah, I led somebody through on at Shasta. She was having an existential crisis, and something bad had happened in her personal life, and she didn't know what to do, and so I had her go through one of the mazes. And when she was done, she said, "Okay, there's a message for me, but I don't know what it is." I'm all Gansfield time, so. She laid down on. I had her lay down on the top of a fucking picnic bench, like a picnic table. And we did it, and the mountain spoke to her and made it unequivocal what the answer was, and it changed everything. It changed her entire life.
So. But something you said earlier, you have to be open to hearing the message.
You do,
right? You can't ask the question and then have a pre-formulated thought of what the answer should be.
Right. And the other thing is that there's a price you pay. And that, you know, what Greenfield and I always joke about is that once you get on the train, you don't get off.
Oh, he just got off. That was crazy.
Oh my God. That was crazy.
I'm not going to edit this out, people, because literally this man just said that and literally his Zoom cut out.
Just totally dropped out of the meeting.
Totally dropped out of the meeting. As he said, once you get on that train, you can't get off. Boom. Not gonna lie, I'm a little freaked out at the moment. Bye, Felicia. Oh my God.
My goodness.
All right, yeah. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. You know, it looks like his battery died, or we just lost some connection there. We've been chit chatting a little bit, or the MIB.
Or the universe drained his battery. Who knows?
The universe. I mean, we were riding high. I think we drained the battery, all three of us. But no, thank you, Olav. I know you're listening to this now, but thank you so much for joining us, man. What an absolutely amazing conversation. We could have probably talked for hours, dude.
I mean, I am blown away at some of the thoughts and concepts that he dropped for us that I had just never even thought about or considered.
Yeah.
So
and just the knowledge. And we need to get him on Astral Stew and get him and Santosh's brain going back and forth with ours. Like that's got to happen. So Olav, if you're listening, we want you on our YouTube show too sometime. But you are always welcome back, sir. Just to wrap up, for those of you listening, if you want to get some more information on Olav Phillips, you can get any of those books that he's written or edited and worked with. They're all on Amazon, goodreads.com, just OLAV Phillips there. Look him up there. You'll see everything that he's a part of and does. I mean, just Google search this mofo.
I mean, I just want, I want every single, some of these I already have, but I want every single one of these books in my library.
Right. I've been going through it too. I'm like, especially the occult magic side of me. I'm like, there's some good ones in here. It looked like there was even another Greenfield book that we didn't even bring up. Like that looks like it's out as well. So, but yeah, check out Olav Phillips wherever you look for Olav, whether it's on the deep web or askjeeves.com, whatever. I don't care.
Ask Jeeves.
Dogpile.com. I don't know. Whatever. If it's 1997 or whatever. But no, again, thank you, Olav, so much. And we're actually going to go ahead and wrap up. I don't have a listener story for this week, just so we could have some extra time to talk to Olav. And I guess, hey, it worked out. Worked out. So, but please send your listener stories. We do love them. And I want more. You can send those to FearScape Podcast at gmail.com or at FearScape Pod. Find us on social media. Send those to us wherever. You guys know where to send this stuff, or hit us up on a damn message board. I don't care. I want your message. I want your listener stories. But other than that, man, I believe it's time to rock and roll and get out of here, bro.
Yeah, I think it is. And now that I am on like a super energy high from this conversation, I'm going to try to go to sleep. So we'll see how
good luck with that. Good luck with that. But yeah, make sure you guys check out. This is the last day for our fundraiser that we're talking about, but it happens all year round.
Anytime,
But yeah, fearscapemedia.com/support. You guys can go right there and make a donation of your choice right straight to the PayPal there, and check all that stuff out, all the good stuff, and help us with all the other podcasts, and then keep us getting people like Olav, man, to get out there and talk about all the stuff that truly matters.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into the FearScape Paranormal Podcast here on the FearScape Media Network. This has been Stefan. Keep your eyes on the skies.
This has been Josh. The truth is now.
And remember, folks, hold those blankets extra tight, because things tend to get spooky when you're listening to FearScape. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We hope you have enjoyed this guidepost on the road of high strangeness with us. And we thank you, as always, for listening and joining our caravan to the weird and unknown. Please consider supporting us as we continue our journey to find the answers we all seek. FearScapePodcast.com/support.